This talk is about why it is so difficult to put down the illusion of a doer and to put down doing, and also the benefit of what it is like to put this down. So the doer is an illusion, just like the thinker or the knower of the thoughts is also an illusion. The feeler of the emotions is an illusion. And so the doer of the doing is an illusion. And we can know that, but it can be quite the journey to actually put that down, and it can be quite a sticky illusion. And there's many reasons why this is one of the more difficult things to let go of. But we'll go through the layers of it through awakening, and step by step we'll release this illusion and also put down doing in the way that we've been conditioned to do so, and shift across to a more, what we could call a state of being, or even a state of flow with life. And so initially we start out with just what we're taught to do, which is just our conditioning. So currently the collective conditioning is to tell us as soon as we can, as young as we are, that we need to be something in the world. We need to become something, and we need to do a lot to get there, to achieve that. And so we need to choose what courses we want to do, what job we want to do, and we need to really go for it to be successful. And so this is very innocent. This is just what we're taught to do. And so, of course, we go along with that as we're following what everyone else is doing. And this really gets us in that state of doing endlessly, trying to achieve and trying to feel fulfilled, and trying to get a sense of satisfaction out of doing, but not really being able to, because it's sort of like a hungry ghost. It's just a never-ending chasing feeling. And with that, we innocently believe that there is a doer here that is doing all of these things, even if we've never really thought about it in that way. And so through the awakening process, part of the awakening is to put down this illusion that there is a doer there, and to also put down the doing that is happening. And this can be quite the process. So the reasons why it is quite difficult to put down this doing and the doer is because there's a lot of layers to it typically. So first of all, it is this conditioning, which is a very deep layer to go beyond what others are telling you, and to not play that game is quite difficult. To go out on your own and to not do things in the same way as what you've been conditioned to do can be very confronting, and you can feel like an outsider in that. And so if you're trying to put down doing, and everyone around you is trying to achieve and succeed and doing, then of course you're going to be different. And so that can be confronting. So you could see why we wouldn't want to deal with that. But that is one of the things that's being asked for us to do during the awakening process, is to start to put that down. And that is because we can't progress with awakening if we are not being present, and we can't be present if we're doing all the time. And so step by step, we start to put down doing. And what this looks like practically is that we start to simplify our life. So perhaps we have a very intense job that we work a lot of hours, and maybe we go to part-time work, or maybe we change jobs to something that's a lot less stressful. And so we actually do things, we take action to start to put down this endless doing, so that we have more space to just be, to be present, to relax into our being and to just be. And so practically we start to put down the things that are keeping that doing energy going. And a large part of this doing energy is coming from an egoic drive of self-fulfillment, of this is what I want to be in the world, this is what I want to become. and I want to be successful, and I want to make money, and I want to achieve a certain level. It's about self-fulfillment. And this creates a drive, an energy force, which we can call a personal will or an egoic drive that gives us the motivation and the actual energy, it's energy, to get all those things done. And it really works. It helps us to get up early if we need to stay up late, to study long hours, study after work, or do whatever we need to do to be successful. It gives us that energy. But through the awakening process, we start to see that starts to deplete. And that can feel a little bit concerning because we've really relied on that to function in life. And it's just a phase, and we do adapt to a different way of being and operating in the world. But it can be initially a little bit confronting as we start to feel a bit depleted energetically and start to feel like we're losing our motivation and drive. And that's because that's actually a good sign. It's because those egoic tendencies are drying up. We're waking up, we're becoming more conscious. And with that, the egoic will, the personal will, starts to also dry up. And so we have less energy and less motivation, less ability to set goals and care about what's going to happen in the future. And so until that is gone completely. And so it just keeps decreasing and decreasing until that's gone. And so in the meantime, we just have to cope, and we have to survive the best we can and function as best we can. And so my advice to you, if this is where you're at with awakening, is to just simplify your life as much as you can. Don't take on new projects if you don't have to, and just keep things really, really simple, and as much space and time for yourself as you can. And obviously everyone's life is different. We all have different responsibilities, and we can't get out of that just because we're going through an awakening. And those responsibilities and challenges will actually form part of our awakening and our karma that's to be healed. And so it's there for a reason. But we do want to try and simplify things to get that space so there's more time for just being silent, more time for just being present and just relaxing into our being, instead of what is the next thing I need to do? What's the next thing I need to tick off? And chasing that feeling of a hungry ghost of it's never enough. I need more fulfillment. I need the next thing and the next thing. And just resting here and just relaxing into this is where I'm at. I don't need to add on anything to this moment. Noticing that it's already full. And that in fact, the future disappears when I rest fully into this moment and I just breathe and feel into my body and just notice that this moment's actually very full and I don't need to add anything to it. And no amount of success or money or achievement can add anything to how full the present moment feels. And in fact, all of that future-orientated drive is actually illusory. It's just thinking about a future time that may or may not ever happen. Where right now, in this moment, everything is perfect just because I'm fully here. And we start to see, when we start to access this presence, that nothing needs to be added onto this. And then no amount of chasing anything could ever make this present moment feel more satisfying. You wouldn't feel more satiated. It feels completely full. And so then we start to go towards just wanting to be present because it feels much nicer than that chasing energy, the hungry ghost energy that can never get there. And so this is how we start to put down doing and start to really want to put down doing. So we practically start to simplify our life. We ignore the conditioning that we've been told that we have to do things that way. We go against what we've been told. And we retire young, or we go part-time, or we do what we need to do to have more space in our life. We simplify things. We stop wanting to become something in the world. And then we use all this spare time that we have to just be present, to just relax into the moment. And then we notice this is where all the enjoyment is at. This is where the peace is at. And this is where I actually feel satisfied and I don't need to chase anything. It's completely full, this moment. And the reason why it's challenging to put down the illusion of a doer is because not only are we conditioned to believe that there is a doer that is making decisions and succeeding in the world and going to become something very important, but also because if we put down the illusion of a doer, what that means is that we have to put down the illusion of free will and the illusion that we're in control. And that is a big thing. It's a lot to put down in one go. But that's what it means. So if there's no doer there, it means that we're not in control of our life or of anything. It also means that there is nobody else in control of anything. And it also means that we're not making our own decisions, because if there's no doer there, then who would be doing it? So we're not making our own decisions and we're not in control. And that can be scary initially. It doesn't have to be, but particularly if we've had a lot of trauma that's unhealed, then we can feel out of control and feel like outside forces are in control of us or interpreted in traumatized ways. And that's not true either. So what is happening is that there already is no doer there. It's just an illusion. And awakening just shows this to us to be illusory, and then it drops away. And we get shown that we never were in control, that nobody is in control, and that's impossible, that control is an illusion, and that we never had free will, that was also part of the illusion of separation, and that it's actually okay that nobody's in control and that we're not making the choices. That although that sounds scary initially, in the end, that becomes very liberating, very freeing. And the burden is lifted, because without the doer there, then all there is just life is just moving. And so this body mind is reacting to the environment. And I sort of say this is like if you've got like a dog and a cat in your house, and the dog walks past and brushes against the cat, and then the cat will stop and lick itself. The cat's reacting to the dog brushing past it. There's no doer there. There's no one in control there. There's no one with free will there making decisions. There's just a reaction. So it's like energy reacting against itself. And so we are just life. We are just a part of that. And this body mind that has come into form is a part of life. And it reacts to its environment, just like the cat. And so someone comes up to us and we talk. There's hunger that arises and we eat. And so it's a lot more simple. So there is still action that takes place. There is still any number of movements that can happen, and life really continues on in a very ordinary way without the idea of a doer there. It's just that it can be scary for us to let go, because we can really be attached to the idea that we're in control and we're making the decisions, and that can be painful. And so if that is painful for you, I would suggest to get some healing work on where you felt out of control maybe earlier on in life, and heal that. And so it's not as confronting to face that there is no one in control. So after we've started putting down doing, and the personal will is drying up, and the motivation is drying up, there can still be other reasons why it is difficult to keep putting down more of doing and putting down the illusion of a doer. And this is because it can be not just an egoic drive that is coming from what we've been taught to do, but also because it's part of our survival instinct. And so this might not be the case for everyone, but it would be quite common that doing, working, is interpreted unconsciously as our way that we survive in the world. And so we all have a survival instinct, a self-preservation instinct that's very deep within us and is wired slightly differently for each person, depending on our conditioning and where we were born, who our parents were, what we were taught, and our culture as to our specific way that our survival instinct has developed. And it is highly likely that a part of this is to do with doing. So we may unconsciously believe that if we stop doing, we'll just die. We can have that belief in there, that we need to do just to survive. We may have the belief that we, operating unconsciously most likely, but that we need to keep working or doing to feed our family. That's understandable, to feed ourselves. That's how we get food on the table. That's how we survive as a species these days. We don't go and catch our food. We need to work. We need to do to survive. And so that can be tangled up, the doing can be tangled up in the survival instinct that way. And that needs to be unpacked. And we can even just be born in with the karmic pattern of just being a doer. So I sort of see this like a worker ant they're just born as a worker ant. That's their life. And they don't know anything else other than to work. And so they work for the colony and that's their whole role. And if they drift away from their colony, they can die, lose their way, because that's all they know is to work. And so we can be born like that, like a worker ant, where life after life, this is one of our patterns where it is, I just need to work. I don't know why. I need to do. That is just who I am. So this is when we're talking about identity. So we can really be identified as the doer. I'm the one that gets it done. I'm the one that works hard. I'm the one with a strong work ethic. I'm the one that works no matter what. I'm the one that does the longest hours. I'm the one that does the shifts that nobody else wants to do. So we can have that as a karmic pattern, and that can form part of our identity as well, which is why it can be a very core part of letting go of the illusion of a doer, and why it can be so difficult. Because if we let go of that, then we will realize, well, if I'm not the doer that I thought I was, this worker, however we've interpreted it, I'm not this worker ant that I was born in as, then who am I? And that can feel very confronting to let go of identity. It's always confronting to let go of identity. But if that's really at the core of our identity, which it can be for a lot of people, then it can be particularly confronting to see that one is not there. Which takes me on to my next point, which is it's difficult to let go of the doer because we will see that there is no person here. And that becomes obvious to us. There's no doer here. There's no knower here. There's no feeler here. There's no experiencer here. There's no subject here. There's no separate self here. There's no person here. And so it starts to dawn on us where this is leading us, like, oh, there's no person here. All right. So when I put down doing and I put down the illusion of a doer, I see there is also no person. And that can be confronting if we haven't seen it before. Again, nothing is changing and everything will turn out okay and you'll adapt to it and you'll be totally fine. But just initially it can be confronting to see, oh, there's no person here and there's no other people out there either. You can imagine it can be challenging for us to face all of that all at once just by putting down doing and the doer. We're having to face all of these realizations because it's all tangled up. It's all really part of the same realization, is just that there's no subject there. And so we may interpret that as I'm totally out of control. No one's in control of my life. How will I function? We could interpret this as I'm going insane. I'm getting dementia. I'm not going to be able to feed myself. How am I going to survive? All of these are very natural things that arise, and we just work through each thing that arises and counsel ourselves and show that nothing is actually changing. We're just seeing through an illusion. That's all. We're totally fine. We're just doing what we've always done. We're the formless coming into form. And this is what happens is we forget ourselves and then we remember ourselves. Nothing bad is happening here. This is always what we do, this process of coming into form and going out of form and remembering ourselves. It's totally natural. And yes, it may be a little bit scary at times, but there's actually nothing changing and really nothing to be scared of at all, because there already is no self. There's no separate self. There is no doer. There's no control or any of the other things I mentioned. That's already the case. And so all we're doing is seeing what's already true. So to put down the doer, we want to look at all the illusions that are entangled in it, like free will and control, and that there is a subject there, and there is a person there, and we want to work through all the layers to do with that, to help put down the illusion of a doer also. It'll all collapse all together. And we want to put down doing, because that is preventing awakening from progressing, because we're not being present. We're just moving from one thing to the next thing, whether we're doing that automatically and we don't even know why, or we're trying to achieve something or trying to be something in the world or become something. This urge, that egoic drive, is what we want to put down so that we can learn how to operate in a different way, where we could say it's from just being here, being present, not needing to do anything. But if action does need to happen, like it's time to eat, then it will arise naturally, and it will just be in response to what it's more like a reaction to what is occurring. So there'll be hunger, and then there'll be eating, and then they'll be buying more food. Life will continue on, but it is in quite a different way, more closer to what you could call a flow state, where you're just moving from one task to the next without that urge of, I need to achieve something, I need to get this done, or I've got too much on my plate, I've got to get through this checklist. There's all these goals I need to achieve in my life. All that energy is gone. And so you're just more flowing from one thing to the next. And it's a very peaceful way to live. And we also want to put down anything that activates that illusion of a doer and the doing energy. And that will be individual for each person. So it could be a business that you do. It could be a creative project or your job, or really anything where you feel that urge, that drive to, I need to get this done. And we just have to be honest with ourselves of like, there it is there. That's that doing energy. What can I do to start to put this down? And it can be baby steps where we start to put things down very slowly, or we can just stop doing it completely, just end the project. If we can see that it's not serving us and it's not serving awakening, we can just stop doing it. And of course, we need to feed ourselves. There is a practical side to this where we can't just put everything down. We do need to function in the world, but we need to be honest with ourselves, the difference between, am I doing this because I'm trying to become something in the world, or am I doing this because it's going to pay my bills and feed me and my family? And really being honest about the difference there and moving more towards things that are less stressful, because the doing energy creates stress in the body and the nervous system, and that stress prevents you from being able to meditate deeply and to relax deeply enough to access your being. And so the more stress you have, the further away you're moving from embodying the truth, from being awake. And so a trajectory is to decrease stress in your life in whatever way possible, however that looks for you. Simplify things as much as you can, have more time. And then whatever time you do have, spend that relaxing and being present, whether that's a mindfulness activity or just being still, just looking around, just being here now. and spending a lot of time just relaxing into the now, into the present.